Hey there, folks. It's Jimmy Stewart here, hoping this is finding you all doing well. Well, last week I released a video for the first one in quite a while, as I had taken some time off over the summer and fall, which I explained last week anyway, but I had the new guitar day last week, and I introduced you to the new Firefly GD45 the GD45 F-E, this guy right here. This is their newer release on acoustics, and if you check out www.guitarsgarden.com, that's guitars with an S, you'll see that they're still in stock. So there's still a few of these left. This is the F-E, and there's an E just like this without the F that's got the block inlays instead of the fancy abalone tree of life type thing that is on this one. But anyway, and there's also a sunburst one, more reminiscent, I think, of the Epiphone that I have sitting here. It's kind of hummingbird looking without the pickguard. So check those out on Guitars Garden. When I did the review of this last week and showed it to you, I had been thinking to myself when I said it on the video that perhaps I'll bring it out and just, give it a play in comparison to some of the other acoustics I have. Now, I have probably a dozen or so, maybe more, I think, acoustic guitars, acoustic electrics as well, and a few dreadnoughts, which is this is the dreadnought body size, and I've got a few of them here with the Epiphone the J160. That's the John Lennon signature model. I've had this probably, I think, since around 2008, maybe 2010, somewhere around there, at least 15 years. And that is my Martin. That's an HD35, and I'll show you the difference between a normal 35 and an HD35. It's mostly herringbone on the perfing and all that kind of stuff instead of normal. It's got a nice zigzag pattern on a three-piece back, Indian rosewood sides, and the spruce top. They all have spruce tops. Again, when I explained the Firefly, it is a solid spruce top with rosewood laminate back and sides. The Epiphone is a solid Sitka spruce top with mahogany laminate back and sides. And of course, the Martin, the HD35, is an all wood Sitka, I think, but a very nice spruce top and Indian rosewood back and sides with a ebony fretboard instead of a rosewood fretboard. Again, you're talking varying pricing here, of course. The HD35, you're talking $3,000 plus. The John Lennon J160 from Epiphone, when I first bought it, I think I paid around $550. I see them used right now between $650, $750, $800. And of course, this I just got last week. It was $269.99 and then $27 shipping, so less than $300. So again, think about that just for a moment as we compare the sound of these guitars, okay? And that's kind of the point I'm trying to get across here. It's not going to sound, hopefully it doesn't sound as good as my 3K plus HD35 Martin. It should not sound as good as my $700 EJ160 John Lennon, okay? But I think you're going to be surprised, and of course I was surprised when I first took it out of the box last week of how good it actually sounds for a sub $300 acoustic guitar. Really, really nice. So anyway, let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and start. We'll start right here with the Firefly. Now you'll see that it's plugged in. I'm not going to use the electronics. I'm going to do this all acoustically because that's what we're really checking here. Electronics can be manipulated any way you want, depending on what you're using for front of house, what you're using for an amp, acoustic amp, or a regular amp, or if you're using a PA system. And then again, tweaking it with EQ and all that kind of stuff. So it makes not a lot of sense. What I want to show you is the acoustic sound of it, room sound, as to how it's going to sound, in that environment, okay? And again, they're all dreadnoughts. They're all that dreadnought body style, same size. Just a few differences in how they were built, of course. So So here we are. Again, you see I have it plugged in. That's only because I have it plugged into my tuner here on the floor, okay? This does have a built-in tuner, but neither of these do, so I'm going to plug them in just to use the tuner on the floor there. That's it. I'm going to bang on it hard. Pretty nice. I mean, this guitar has not opened up. I mean, it's only a week old, so I know. I think it projects pretty nice for a brand new guitar. Now here's the Epiphone. Again, this is the EJ160. I'm gonna again plug it in just to see that my if I got. For the tuning. On it. Whew. Okay. The Epiphone. Now, to my ears, and again, folks, you know, it's all a matter of judgment. We all have different ears. We all have different perceptions. I thought the Firefly actually projected louder. Now, the Epiphone has had time to open up. It's been 15 years in the studio here at least. It's never been in the case. I keep it in the stand. And I think that's important with an acoustic guitar, that it gets some natural vibe. It listens and sucks up the music around it. Hard to do when it's sitting in a case. So I leave this out most of the time. The Martin has been left out in the studio for years and then went into a case. And it's been in the case probably for the last 2 or 3 years. I think I might have had it out once or twice to show here in the studio and to maybe use it for something. But it's pretty much been in the case, more in the case than the last 10 years, and it's been out of the case. Let's put it that way, okay? So let's bring the Martin over. Again, this is a 1984. And these don't come with a plug. I put an LR bags system in this after I first got it. And to be honest with you, the LR bag system that's in this costs more than the Firefly guitar did, okay? Just the pickup system. So, yeah, again. And I'm going to bang on this as well. Now, let's go to the difference first of all. An HD35 means herringbone. So it's got the herringbone purfling around the guitar, and of course your 3-piece back, the Indian rosewood 3-piece back with the zigzag herringbone, okay, is the major difference between this and a regular D35. And the also other bigger difference is the scalloped bracing that's inside here. They do change the bracing on an HD to give it a little bit more bass response, okay? Bang on. The HD35 Martin. Okay, now I see these on sale. The newer ones are like $3,400, $3,500. There's some used ones. I looked today online to see if there was any 4s, and I found one 84 that's advertised with Musician's Friend and also Guitar Center, which is basically the same company. So it's the same guitar. If you look at Guitar Center, they're selling it for $29.99, and Musician's Friend has it for $29.99. So you can get an 84 that says it's in really good shape for $3,000. Okay, if you wanted to buy an 84. Now I think the older the Martin, the better, in my opinion. They open up over years, time, and you know, all that kind of good stuff. So if it's been taken care of. All right, I'm going to do a little picking here. All right, HD35. From the good folks at, in fact, it's nice to bring that out today because, like I said, it hasn't been out of the case for a while. So, and it does sound good. That HD sounds great. All right, so let's do a little picking here. Okay, the Epiphone, John Lennon, J160E. And and the Firefly. Okay, so there you go. Surprisingly, well, I'm not surprised, but I think you might be surprised on how good this actually sounds, folks. Guitar's not broken in. It's a week old, so and it has been hanging here on the stand for a week. So, I mean, think about that for a second. Yes, the strings are brand new, but they're factory strings, too, on here. The strings on those are older strings. I can't remember the last time I changed the strings on the HD. Probably the last time I had it out for any studio work, which would have been a number of years ago, and it's been in a case. The strings on this have been changed fairly recently, but again, they're not new strings by any stretch of the imagination. So these are going to have a little bit more ring to them, I think. But again, they're factory strings, so they're not great. So I think all in all, that kind of works itself out. Older strings, new strings that are not great. Okay, so, but anyway, let's see here. Nice, right? Try one more on this. See if I can do something similar. Okay, a little bluesy stuff there. And on the Martin. you go. Let's go to drop D. Got a really nice resonance, folks. It's very cool. Sorry about getting up, but I can't reach quite that far over there, and I don't want to knock anything over while I'm doing this. Let's see. Now, obviously, I think you can hear the bottom end on the HD35 just bellows out. I think it's definitely got the bigger, fuller bass response, the bigger push. And it's designed to do that, obviously. And that's why people pay the extra bucks to get an HD35 or an HD28, or because you've got that, the way they do the scalloping gives it more resonance, gives it that bigger bass push, okay? Wow. Still ringing. I would say, folks, that it holds itself up very well. Yeah. So again, $269. 27, I think it is, for shipping. So it's under 300. The 160J, I've loved that guitar. I've played it on many different tracks over the years. I've used it live a number of times, not for an entire show, but I'd bring it, and it was used in the 2 or 3 songs I would do in a show, especially if there were Beatles tracks, and I would use it. The HD35 I've used on a number of different recordings. It was my go-to recording guitar later in years. In the early years, I was using my Ovation. And then, of course, I used my Triple O. I have a Triple O Martin as well, a little bit smaller guitar in a lot of recordings as well. But the HD35 has been a go-to for a while as well. So all important guitars, at least to me, with the addition of this past week with the new GD45 F-E edition from the good folks at Firefly Guitars. I know a couple of people last week on the review said, you know, the fretboard is too busy. You know, it's gaudy. I don't like that. And I understand. A lot of people don't. I wasn't a huge fan of it either. I mean, I only have a couple of guitars that have this type of fretboard. I have an IYV that was done over here. That's got that Tree of Life type of fretboard. This has got, but it is really, really well done, and it really does look good in person. It is not as gaudy as you might expect. But again, I was explaining to those people that, and some people were saying it would be too hard to play. You couldn't see where the fret mark. It's got the normal fret markers right along the side of the fretboard, folks. So as you glance down from my angle, I'm not even looking at the top of the fretboard anyway. I'm looking here. All right, so it's. The guitar is not overly lacquered or laminated or any of that kind of stuff. It's gonna be fairly open sounding right out of the box. And as this ages and gets some time to absorb life as it is, and get some temperature changes and all that kind of good stuff on it, and expand and contract and do all its thing. Might it crack later on down the road? Well, it could, just like any acoustic guitar could. You keep your room humidified in the wintertime if you're in the situation that I'm in, where you've got 4 seasons and you need to heat yourself in the winter and you need to cool yourself in the summer. So in the summer we're dehumidifying, and in the winter we are humidifying. Okay, so I try to keep the studio here at a constant between 45 and 55% humidity levels. Sometimes it gets hard to do, but I try to maintain it at that. And I haven't had any issues with none of my acoustics, even my cheap acoustics, okay? And I've got a couple of older, cheaper acoustics that were student guitars that I bought for my kids at one time, and they stopped playing them, and they're still hanging around, and they're still doing fine. And I also have some expensive acoustics, like the HD35 here in my Triple O, and my what else have I got? I got my Ovation, and I have a couple of other ones I can't think off the top of my head. I've got enough. Okay, but hey, anyway, I think this is a well-received and it's going to do fine addition to the acoustic line for the folks at Firefly. Congratulations to them. I think I think they did a wonderful job on these. And I did mention that there was about a month ago now, I think it's, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, they actually came out with a brief line of all wood renditions of the HD or the D45. They had all wood version, and they had the parlor guitar, and those were, again, more expensive. They were like $369 up to $5 something. And some people said, wow, what is Firefly trying to do? They're outpriced themselves. They're not a budget guitar brand anymore. And I think with those acoustics, they were just trying to say, hey, we can do some really, really, really nice guitars, all wooden versions, for a very, very reasonable price. And when they did these, the last couple of weeks when they dropped these, they showed you that they can do a full blinged out version of the D45 with a solid top, laminate backs and sides, and just a beautiful guitar for less than $300. So again, they are still available when I looked today on guitarsgarden.com. So if you're interested, check them out. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up for today, folks. Thank you so much for stopping in. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, do me a favor. That's right. Come on over to the good side. We would love to have you on board. Until next time, folks, it's Jimmy Stewart saying so long. Please take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Be kind to each other. And we'll talk to you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.